He followed me here? It was a rainy Friday night. Peter was closing up the bookstore when suddenly a young woman stumbled into him. Straightening his glasses, Peter looked at her. She was beautiful, but he instantly noticed the stress on her face. "Are you all right?" "That man, he's following me." The young woman rushed into the store. As Peter noticed a brutish man running after her, but he immediately stood in the way. "Where's she? Move!" "Sir, you can't go in. It's closing time." "I said move out of the way." "Sir, if you don't leave, I'll have to call the cops." As the man backed off, Peter headed inside to find the young woman, peering out the shutters nervously. "Who is that guy?" "He's a creep. He's been following me. Is it alright if I stay here a while? Until he leaves?" "I don't think he's leaving anytime soon, but I have an idea." Peter turned off the lights and closed up for the night before leading the young woman out the back door. He took out his pocket knife and handed it to her. "You can keep this if you want." But she looked at him desperately and asked, "You're not going to drop me home?" "Oh, of course. I'm Peter, by the way. Clarice." Peter never expected his night would go the way it did. He walked home this beautiful woman to her apartment. They were soaking wet by the time they reached there. "Why don't you stay until the rain calms down a bit? If it's all right with you. Just give me a moment." Clarice went inside, and just a while later, she peered through the door and invited him in. Peter walked into a neat and cozy apartment. A cool breeze blew in. It was the perfect atmosphere. "Wanna join me for dinner?" Clarice warmed up some pizza from the night before. Just when she and Peter sat down to eat, the lights suddenly went out. "What happened?" "This apartment is really old. Sometimes the electricity acts up. The super will fix it in a while." Peter spotted a candle and took out his lighter. "Oh, there's a candle." But Clarice suddenly called out, "No, don't. I never light that candle. If you don't mind, can we sit in the balcony till the electricity comes back?" "Sure." Clarice shifted everything to the balcony, but sitting there with Peter, she sensed he had a lot of questions. "That candle, it's a memory of my boyfriend. He's no more." "Oh, I'm so sorry." "It's all right. The pizza's getting cold." That night, Peter and Clarice had some small talk as they ate. And before they knew it, it was 10 o'clock. "The rain has stopped?" "Yeah, I think I should get going." "I'll see you around?" "Sure." This was how Peter first met Clarice, and how their friendship began. Now and then she dropped by the bookstore, and sometimes Peter dropped by her place. Although Peter thought perhaps they would be something more, he soon realized Clarice was really lonely and sad in her life, mourning the loss of her late boyfriend. And she didn't have anyone else. Perhaps that's why she spent time with him. But for the most part, Peter was understanding and tried to cheer her up. Sometimes taking her out for ice cream or going to the movies. I had a fun time tonight. We should do this more often. He followed you here too? Come on, let's get out of here. It was one of these days. While he was at her place, he found something a bit unusual. She wears this kind of clothes. And these heels? Wow. Suddenly, Clarice walked in on him and froze. I'm sorry. I don't want you to find this out. I work at a strip club. What? Look, it's okay if you don't want to be friends anymore. I understand. No, it's absolutely fine. I'm okay with it. I didn't have an option. My boyfriend and I used to live together, but after he passed away, it was really hard on me. I lost my job and eventually I didn't have a choice. I would have been on the road. It's alright, you don't have to explain yourself. No, there's something I sort of lied to you about. That man you saw, he's actually a rich businessman. He's been staying at the motel here on Downey Street. He was a client at the strip club and one day he visited me. He wanted to get me involved in some wrong things, but I can't stoop any lower than this. Ever since he realized I wouldn't give in, he's been after me. All this came as a shock to Peter, but more than anything, he felt bad for Clarice. Don't worry, he won't be able to do anything to you. Since the day she opened up to him, Peter and Clarice got even closer. They spent an awful amount of time together, and while Peter fell in love with her even more, it seemed Clarice was doing better as well. And it was on another night, when Peter dropped by with a movie and some takeout. Suddenly, the electricity went out again. Oh no, not again. But this time, Clarice lit a match and went to light that same candle. You're lighting the candle? I think I'm ready to let go. Hearing those words, Peter couldn't be happier. Clarice was finally moving on. His chance had finally come. After that night, all Peter could think of was how he would confess his love to her. And alas, the next time Clarice called him over, "Peter, you're coming tomorrow, right?" Of course, Peter decided he would do it. So, he got himself ready, bought a bouquet of flowers, and went over to her place the next night. It's raining tonight too, and it was raining that night. Good luck. Why isn't she opening the door? After a while of knocking, Peter went to turn the knob when he realized the door was open. Clarice? But when he stepped inside, he was horrified by what he found. The entire apartment was soaked in blood. And in her bedroom, Clarice lay in a gruesome condition. Her body and face no longer recognizable by what had been done to her. No, Peter was devastated, and he knew who was responsible. It must have been him, that creep. What do you want? You took her life, didn't you? Listen, boy, it's not what you think it is. She's not what she says she is. 26-year-old male Peter Allen was arrested last night for taking the life of a businessman who had been visiting town on a trip. Allen claims the man had taken the life of his girlfriend, a 24-year-old Clarice Wilson. However, while the body of the young woman had been discovered, police have not yet found evidence suggesting him to be the culprit. Wow, I didn't know you had it in you. Fooling weak-minded men was gameplay for Clarice, or as her real name was, Jacqueline. But everything backfired for her when she mishandled the situation with Harvey, the son of Mr. Bennett. It was some months ago. They first met at a club, and Jacqueline had her ways of wooing him. "I'm sorry, miss, your credit card was denied." "What?" "Put her bill on my tab." "Thank you." "It's Harvey." Jacqueline. Harvey had no clue. The credit card had actually been stolen, and how foolish he had been to fall for her. It was from that one night their relationship began, and Jacqueline found her jackpot. Living off of his father's money, Harvey would do anything and everything for her. From gambling, hustling, and even dirty business. But unlike Harvey, Mr. Bennett quickly realized his son had fallen for the wrong girl. "Harvey, you think she loves you? She's into you? She's only using you." "No, Dad, you don't know her. If you stop doing what she wants, if I stop giving you money, she won't give you a second look. A girl like her will never settle for a guy like you. You're only a ladder for her, Harvey, nothing more." "Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. I love her and she loves me." "Then if that's the way it's going to be, you can choose to stay or leave." When Harvey walked out on him, Mr. Bennett thought he would finally have a reality check, but he never imagined what would happen. That night, when Harvey went to visit Jacqueline, he found someone else had been with her. "Who was that?" "Just some friend. Did you get what I told you to? I got a really good deal on the stash." No, actually, I had a fight with my dad, and he gave me a choice. You or the money, and I chose you. I love you, Jacqueline." Love? What good is love? What good are you anymore? All these days your dad babysitted you, and now what did you think? I would babysit you? Harvey was shocked by the way Jacqueline humiliated him. But without a word, he left that night. All this time, he had truly trusted her and truly believed she loved him. But it was all a lie. Harvey couldn't bear the betrayal. And in his depression, he took his life. And when Mr. Bennett found out, he was devastated and furious. He wanted revenge and set out in search for Jacqueline. On the other hand, when Jacqueline found out, she was panicked. That fool. She already had too much debt in town, and now she was wanted for the death of Harvey Bennett. Without much choice, she ran away from the city and decided to hide out with an old friend in this small town. Clarice. Clarice was working as a dancer at a bar and getting by on her own. But she knew well what Jacqueline was. "Jacqueline, you are all trouble, and I don't want trouble. You can't stay." "Don't worry, Clarice, it'll only be for a while. I can't take the risk. I have a lot going on in my life as is. Please, for old time's sake." After a lot of begging and requesting, Clarice let her stay, but living in that apartment wasn't easy. Despite working and paying her share, Clarice was constantly insulting Jacqueline. And in all this, things got even more complicated when Jacqueline realized Mr. Bennett had reached here searching for her. Mr. Bennett had reached. And then, that night, they spotted each other. But it happened so, that very night, she met her next target. The minute she saw Peter, and saw how eager he was to please her, she knew he would be the perfect bait. If she would give him the impression that he could have her, he would do anything for her. So that night, she lied about her name, took Clarice's identity, and invited him home. And right before letting him in, she took a minute and went inside to get rid of all Clarice's pictures. And with time, she made up a fake emotional story about a late boyfriend to manipulate him. Once Jacqueline won Peter's sympathy, and he started to fall in love with her, she intentionally revealed her dirty secret. She was a stripper. Being her client and blackmailing her. And finally, when the time was right, Jacqueline took her revenge on Clarice as well, taking her life and setting up her body for Peter to find. I thought when he found Clarice's body, he would inform the police and get Mr. Bennett arrested. But who knew he had it in him? Maybe he truly fell in love. I can't believe these nerds would have the audacity to even imagine they could be with someone like me. Please, Emily, listen to me. I'm sorry, don't leave me. It's over, James. Now, who's next? Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.